Jay here, welcome to Eons of Battle. Warhammer Day 2023 is live now, full of all sorts of new, exciting miniatures for 40k, Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, that's about it. But first, did you happen to notice this awesome t-shirt I'm wearing? It is a synthwave design, and it is printed by today's sponsor, Into the AM. Into the AM has a large collection of original artwork, like the one I'm wearing, Digital Pagoda. They also have this shirt, Astro Pump! Just think about how sick you would look in this shirt. These bright, stunning arts are printed onto soft polycotton shirts and hoodies. The hoodies are really nice. They got pockets right on the side. It's not the front pocket, but it's the side pocket, and they're super soft and comfortable. They have tons of awesome designs featuring sci-fi, synthwave, nature, and all of their artwork is stellar. And speaking of stellar, they have a lot of space themes. And my mom likes them. I saw a ton of Into the AM shirts all over Adepticon, so you know that they are nerd approved. The artists and creators over at Into the AM are absolutely crushing it with some new designs. I have my eye on the Saturn Returns tee, and if you would like to try these tees for yourself, you can follow the link in the description below to get 10% off your order. Getting into the brand new models for the Necrons and the Adeptus Mechanicus, I didn't know what to expect for the Adeptus Mechanicus, and I definitely was not expecting Skitarii on stilts. This is one of the strangest miniatures I have ever seen. I think it would have been cool if this was a whole squad of stilt guys, but it's just one single lone operative dude, which I wonder how much he's gonna compare to the Vindicaar Assassin, because the Vindicaar is very good, pretty darn cheap. It'll be interesting to see if this guy is like literally fighting for the same position in the army, because you can just take a Vindicaar Assassin in the Admech army, but this guy is weird. The Sidonian Scatros. He's the Scat Man. This is the weirdest model. I do like how weird and wacky Adeptus Mechanicus is. They've got cowboy horses. They've got like these like Archaeopteryx vehicles. They've got all sorts of completely bizarre stuff. An army of Adeptus Mechanicus is the strangest looking thing ever, and I really appreciate it. This guy is fantastic. It's the silliest war idea I've ever seen. One dude on stilts. Thankfully, he does have like stealth and lone operative rules, so you're literally not allowed to see and shoot at him. But imagine just coming across this dude on the battlefield, and he's just the easiest target. You could shoot him in the legs and take him down. You could just zap him. It's so weird, and I also really love his exhaust hanging between his legs. Games Workshop is a big fan in general of like dick tabards. You gotta have a little cover in there. But man, the framing of that with just the exhaust hanging right there. it's so weird. I absolutely love it. The Radium Giselle or the Transuranic Arquebus, which are both weapons I believe that can be taken on the Sidonian Dragoons, or the gun version of the Sidonian Dragoons, which is really interesting. I always loved that unit, the Chicken Walker. I almost started an Adeptus Mechanicus army and I bought 2 of those suckers, but then it's like 2 $60 kits that end up being like 45 points in game, and it's like I want an entire cavalry brigade of these guys, and it's just like I can't make this happen. So I ended up selling that army off. But this guy is really interesting. A weird and wacky unit for the Adeptus Mechanicus. I can't imagine it's going to change the army in any particular way. And it looks like, judging by the wording in the article, it does look like it is going to be the only new unit for the Adeptus Mechanicus in their new codex, which is fine. I wasn't expecting them to get a whole bunch of new stuff, but yeah. Guy on stilts, the Scat Man, ready for action. As interesting as I find the Adeptus Mechanicus though, I do play the Necrons, and I knew this model was coming because there's only a few things in the Necron range that are still in Finecast, and this guy was one of them. Imhotep the Stormlord, or Imhotep the Stormlord. Get it? Because robot? Tech? This guy is awesome. I bought the Finecast version, and I never finished putting them together because the Finecast was so bad. And it didn't have anything to do with the casting. It's just whoever they put in charge of turning metal molds into Finecast molds, put these little triangular plastic gates everywhere on the model. And they're like impossible to get rid of. You have to find all of these little bits and carve them away, and there's no way around it. Like, it's not a problem with the molding or bubbles or anything. It's just the worst. I don't understand it. Every single other company that produces resins does it better so that they don't just put these gates over details that you absolutely need. And also the old Necron Finecast one is a tiny little fella who doesn't really hold up to the modern standards of the Necrons. But the Storm Lord, not to be confused with the Swarm Lord, very different unit. I love this guy. It'll be interesting to see if it comes with any changes to his rules, because we've seen them from the indexes. He used to have a rule, which was one of the greatest things in 40k, was he got a buff depending on what opponent he was fighting. He was good at fighting every single faction in 40k except the orcs. His incredible intellect and knowledge and pragmatism does not function on orc zaniness. They're always able to outsmart him because they don't outsmart him, they just do things that don't make any sense. And he's unable to predict it perfectly. The Storm Lord. His cape is super fancy with little scuttling scarabs walking all over it. It is so awesome. Ooh, and the new Codex cover art. Is this new? I think it must be new. I do like the old cover art that they used for 8th and 9th edition for the Necrons with the Scorpek Destroyer Lord. It did feel very kind of scratchy and Necron-y. It's an interesting art style, though. I've really been enjoying... whoever has been drawing the new Codex arts for, like, Codex Gene Stealers, Chaos, where they look like unbelievable pieces of art, and they kind of move away from the actual design aesthetics of 40k and make things a little bit more realistic. I really like those codexes, but this one is also fine. It's all right. It's a good picture of Imhotep the Stormlord. Man, and that new model with his flamethrower hands. I'll definitely have to get this guy for my Necron army. And I think I will have to paint him up in his appropriate colors. It's always weird. I have a custom color scheme for my Necrons. So when I get characters who are named, are they my army's versions of those characters, or are those characters, have they palled around with my army? Have they shown up for a play date? Like, I never know exactly what to do. He would look cool in my white and orange color scheme, but he also looks really cool in his classic color scheme with his faction colors. I love the Necrons. And a lovely little tease at the end of this article. This Auspicious Pharaon is just one of the new miniatures in Codex Necrons. One of the new. It'll be really interesting to see what those other new things are. Maybe it'll be some completely bizarre thing like a Necron warrior up on stilt legs, but more likely it'll probably be Oricon the Diviner and Trazy the Infinite in plastics, because those guys are also still in Finecast and very popular because their novel, The Infinite and the Divine, is the most popular 40k novel. So if I had to guess, I would guess it's gonna be those guys coming to plastic, but it might be some cool new Necron weirdness, who knows? Moving into Age of Sigmar, everybody, hold on to your butts. We got a dragon. They've shown off a bunch of dragons for Age of Sigmar, so I feel like each dragon has diminishing returns. There's nothing wrong with this dragon. It is a very cool dragon, and it's got a spoopy guy on top with a skull mask. His name is Ionis Cryptborn, because he's spoopy. He's a very spooky guy. They probably should have really pushed that it's October, it is spooky season, and they're coming out with a spooky character. But they never really do silly stuff like that except for Orktober, which they don't really do anymore. I like this guy a lot. He's super cool. I do have a Stormcast Eternals army, although I like the Stormcast a lot, but I feel like the reason I have a Stormcast Eternals army is because the Dominion box was really, really good and came with a bunch of cool models. I really do like the new Thunderstrike Stormcast, where they're a little bit better proportioned, where instead of the old incredibly chunky and clunky models, they're a little bit more trim and noble looking to me. But this guy is pretty dope, and he'll look really good alongside the other Age of Sigmar dragons. What I'm a little bit more excited for with Age of Sigmar is the brand new Sylvaneth model. It is a tree on a bug. Who doesn't like a tree on a bug? I really like the Sylvaneth. I think they're super cool, and that is a very interesting bug. I really appreciate how Unlike the Idoneth Deepkin, where they're very pretty, but in the lore they're very evil, and I feel like they're a little bit too separate, I do see a little bit of the darkness in the Sylvaneth, at least more so than the Idoneth Deepkin, especially depending on how you paint them, because right now, the way Games Workshop painted it, that is a very, very pretty beetle and a very nice tree on top, but just a little bit of streaking grime, just a little bit of violence going on. And because the Sylvaneth are not nice, they're not the Lorax, they are evil trees. Not necessarily evil, but it's, you know, if you step on the grass a little bit too hard, they're gonna come after you. I really like this guy. It's not L'Ariel the Everqueen levels of awesome bug, but it's definitely not meant to be. I don't think this replaces her at all. It's like a medium hero. Alariel is the giant hero, and this is the medium hero. And I'm here for a medium hero because sometimes you want to splash out on bigger, more awesome units, and so you can't have your big epic hero taking up like a quarter of your army in points. So this is a very welcome addition to the Sylvaneth range, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of movement characteristic this has. The Sylvaneth have generally really good movement already, and so this thing is probably going to be able to zip around the battlefield because that beetle has wings. I like the Sylvaneth a lot. I really got to get working on my Sylvaneth army. It's sort of done. Like, I have everything I want. The only thing now that I need is about 100 Dryads to make the list perfect, because right now I have 20. I like them a lot. But I never play Age of Sigmar. I play Kill Team. And there's Kill Team Season 3 finally out. It feels like we've waited absolutely forever for this. And it is interesting. If anybody's been paying attention to Warcry lately, the Warcry and Kill Team had been releasing the exact same way. You get 2 factions and a nice amount of terrain. You get everything you need to play the game, essentially, except dice. In the new one, in the newest Warcry set, they actually broke it up. So you have your teams and one single piece of terrain, and then you got a set of terrain, which is interesting. It's kind of interesting Games Workshop is separating the two, because I feel like nobody's ever gonna buy the terrain. You kind of got a deep discount on the terrain when they were bundled together, and you sort of need it for gaming, but you can also use solo cups and phone books. And it's a smidge cheaper having them split that way than when everything was bundled together. But it seems like that's how everything is going to be moving forward, which I think is fine, especially looking at the terrain that's coming in Season 3. But for the teams, we've got the Striking Scorpions, complete with their Mandiblasters. Mandible blasters, because they're on their face and they're kind of like scorpions. These guys rock. I really like the Aspect Warriors for the Eldars. The Howling Banshees are one of the very few Eldar models that I really, really like. And these guys are also excellent. The way Games Workshop painted them is very retro and very classic. I feel like a little bit more of a Zenithal or a little bit more contrasty paint job would make them look a little more intimidating and not just bright Crayola crayon green. But they still look super rad. It'll be interesting to see how they play in Kill Team, because it looks like they don't really have any special weapons at all. Seems like every single one has the Shuriken Pistol and the Chainsword and the Mandiblasters. And then one of them has the Claw, which is, again, it's a Scorpion Claw, because they're the Striking Scorpions. They're so much fun. The Scouts, I don't want to badmouth the Scouts, because they're Scouts. We needed these. It would have been nice if they were just available on this big old Space Marine pre-order day that happened a couple weeks ago, because I need these for my army, especially since they were already a really good unit in game and they got a buff. Which, speaking of the Space Marine Codex, it's a weird codex. It didn't break anything for Space Marines, but it seemed to buff the things that were already good and just leave alone the things that sucked. Which is too bad, because I always like because the things that suck is always the things that I own, so I wouldn't have minded those getting a little bump. But these are Scouts for Kill Team. Tons and tons of weapon options. This looks like a proper Kill Team. We got missile launchers, we got heavy bolters, snipers, camo cloaks, grappling hooks. The Scouts look like they're gonna be tons and tons of fun. It'll be interesting to see what rules exists for the Striking Scorpions to make them Kill Teamified, because I don't see anything on them that I don't imagine comes in just the regular kit. Because what Games Workshop does is They take an existing unit and then they just add one little upgrade frame that comes with some special weapons and some head swaps and usually 2 daggers, because one guy in every kill team has to have 2 daggers. But I don't see that with the Striking Scorpions. I do see it with the Scouts. So it'll be really interesting. It's not the sexiest kill team, and we sort of already have rules for taking 10 Scouts in a game of kill team. So it doesn't feel as spicy as some of the other boxes for kill team. And the terrain that you get with it is some techie junk, which you need some good techie junk around every now and again. We've got some generators. Actually, they're all generators and boilers and things. I don't think they need to supply any terrain with the teams. I feel like terrain should be all or nothing. Same with the Warcry set. Like, you don't, that terrain piece is not going to get used. There's no point to it. The terrain set available for Season 3, I think we were all expecting jungle, but no, we have an oil rig. That's a neat idea. I don't know if it knocks my socks off. It's definitely an interesting idea. Unless they super rewrote the rules for how terrain works in Kill Team, this will be really interesting to play on because there's essentially no cover whatsoever. Which, if I have learned anything about Kill Team, is you need to play with an ungodly amount of terrain so that your army doesn't just get shot off the board instantly, because Kill Team is lethal. Like, Harlequins are just gonna absolutely dominate on this with their fly ability. Anything with tons and tons of guns are just gonna absolutely stomp. I don't remember how the rules for jumping works in Kill Team, because you actually are allowed to jump from one like ledge to another, but it's kind of clunky and there's risk involved, so you never ever do it. So literally, I don't think I've ever made a jump action in Kill Team. But it looks like for here, they're gonna try to force it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be picking up this set of terrain. I wouldn't mind looking at the new rules for how this terrain works, because I would love for them to just delete the vantage point rule. I don't think vantage point helps Kill Team at all. I think it kind of ruins the game. If you don't do a great job setting up your terrain with like perfectly equal vantage points and lots of obscuring terrain so that you can actually still hide from vantage point and stuff, it just sucks that they wrote this beautiful engage or conceal. If you're concealed, you're hiding. If you're engaged, you're taking part in the battle. And vantage point just turns all that off. And it kind of turns off the terrain of the game. So I wouldn't mind if vantage point is gone. Man, we knew Gallifall was falling onto a planet. And so I think we all thought we're going to be back on open or in the jungle. I think a lot of people were excited about the jungle. This is a water world, and this is what it's going to be for Season 3. I don't super mind, because I don't think I'm going to be picking up any of this terrain, because now it's separate from the actual kill team, so I can just get all the kill teams I want, and I don't have to deal with the terrain. I can just use what I already have. The Striking Scorpions, I guess depending on their rules, I just like the Striking Scorpions. I wouldn't have minded a couple of heavy weapons, but the Scouts, I think the Scouts are going to be a very solid, very normal kill team. They're kind of just fellas. We have so many kill teams that are just 10 fellas. And these are perfectly good fellas. Although really, I'm annoyed that they're in Kill Team, because I wanted to purchase a bunch of these for my Space Marine army, and now I can't because they're locked to Kill Team for who knows how long. Hopefully, just in keeping with how Games Workshop has been handling Kill Team, they're only gonna make about 7 copies of this box, and it's gonna sell out instantly, and then they'll just release them normally for the Space Marines. I mean, really, hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully they actually made enough kill teams so that everybody who wants one can actually get the box. I think it's a perfectly fine box. It doesn't feel like the first box of a new season. Octeris was fantastic with brand new, never before seen orc commandos who were not really a unit in 40k before, because you kind of had to like kit bash. Like, you didn't have to kit bash your own, but you could buy the okay Finecast ones or just use normal orcs. And the Death Core of Krieg finally coming to plastic. It blew our minds. It was amazing. It was like the last meme thing in 40k. People were like, Oh yeah, that'll definitely happen when the squats come back to 40k, but then they did, and so did the Death Corps of Krieg. It was amazing. And then Into the Dark with the Kroot and this brand spanking new thing, the Imperial Navy Breachers. Here we're getting to just things we needed for 40k to round out the range of miniatures. Doesn't have the same prominence. It doesn't have the juice, I would say. It's cool. There's nothing wrong with it. But it could have been so much more. I mean, it could have been Eldar Exodites versus, what's another weird 40k thing? The Harud. Like, 7 people know what that is. It could have been something weird like that. But instead, it's just things we kind of knew were coming. Luckily for the Eldar, their codex is probably still years away, so they don't have to worry about not being able to buy their Aspect Warriors if they don't play Kill Team. And, you know, Space Marine players are kind of stuck for right now. Because one of the best units in their codex is currently locked to buying Eldar with them if you actually want to get them in games. Or if you want, you can buy the old plastic scouts. The current scouts that are probably the worst plastic kit that Games Workshop has ever made in somewhat modern times. They're absolutely awful. Their bodies are wedges. And they all, for some reason, have the same heads. Games Workshop typically does a very good job with head sculpts and just giving you a lot of options for heads. Not the scouts. They're all literally the same dude. Although I'm not super excited for the Kill Team terrain, you know what I'm always excited for? That's right, our Patreon. Over there, we have a brand new STL set every single month. This month, we have Orky vehicles, including Grot tanks, trucks, war rigs, and Grot riggers, just in time for Orktober. We also make extra episodes of Eons of Battle where we take a look at our viewers' miniatures and give some ideas and critiques of how to improve their painting. And we have a tier you can get your name on one of my Black Templar Space Marines and you can join the crusade. A bunch of very, very exciting reveals. I can't wait to see what is in store for the Necrons, and I can't wait to see how many copies of the new Kill Team box they make. Hopefully it is triple, like if you combine all of the Into the Dark season of Kill Team, if you add them all together, hopefully they made more of this one box than they did of all of those other boxes. Thanks for watching.